wish your son much hatzlacha.
Amen. Amen.
So actually, perfect leading up into the second question, which is, what about Efrat is unique? What drew you to Efrat, or about living here? What is unique and special about being in Efrat? And also specifically in the Shirat David community as well.
So I'll be honest. I don't. Tom Shafour, Rabbeinu Tam. He's this guy who lives here.
Good guitarist.
He says that you don't choose Efrat. Efrat chooses you, and it's really emet. Like it really did work out in that way. Well, our family was looking for something specific. We didn't necessarily find exactly what we were looking for, but overall, we felt like Efrat was the right place for us. We made Aliyah. My boys were 16 and 13, so they were older. So we wanted an Anglo area where they would feel comfortable and have a soft landing spot. But I think even on a deeper level. So this week's parasha, Parashat Vayishlach, was my bar mitzvah parasha, and it's just so apropos that I got Aliyah Shishi this week or today, because that's the first time that Efrat is mentioned in the Torah, right? It's the first time. I think it's Perek Lamed Hey Pasuk Tet Zayin, if I'm not mistaken. And my bar mitzvah, when I read the Torah, I read up until Shishi. So it's almost like it's one of those things where, all right, you'll read up until Shishi, but you'll live out the rest in Efrat. So it's just, I don't know, maybe it's my own crazy machshavot, but
That's beautiful.
But Efrat's an amazing place for so many different reasons. I think where I came from, I was living in East Boca, and it was like a Chafetz Chaim type community, but very, very warm. And there were like 4 or 5, 6 families that were like known to be awesome families. It's like, I wonder if we're going to get that, when we come to Efrat. And we actually have friends who are here for Shabbat from our old community. And we came out of shul on Friday night, and the wife looked at me and she said, Efrat's East Boca on steroids. Like, mamash. And I've used that term before. And every family here, each family is great in something, but each family is just as great as the next. And there's just so much chesed. We came during Corona. We got off the bus. There were 20 people waiting for me. Majority of them who I didn't know, in front of my house. When I got off the bus, they're singing V'shavu Banim. Like, that's it's a community, and it's a family, and it's amazing. What are some of the perks that living here? I think one of the greatest perks is, and it's so underrated, Rav Shlomo Katz is such a superstar and rock star in so many different ways. Forget about all the Torah that he knows. And he has like the ability. It's amazing. We were sitting there in the Meshiloach Shir this morning, saying, "Yeah, we learned this 3 years ago, but I wanted to do it dafka because of this specific." Like, his memory is unbelievable, and he has this gift where when he's talking to you, nobody else in the world matters. Like, there's no one else around. It's a gift that he has. Just like one small little thing. It's not small, it was huge, but about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, it was Rav Shlomo Karlbach's yahrzeit. And Rav Shlomo Katz is very close to Hanan Ben Ari. And Hanan Ben Ari showed up at Rav Shlomo's house for a little tish or whatever.
Yeah, and we all get just messages in our WhatsApp, come around.
Yeah.
It's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, I think I was in my
upstairs
pajamas.
at 11 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
Literally, 10 p.m. He said, come at 10. He showed up at 11. And we're just sitting there. We're just jamming with Hanan Ben Ari. He was there till 3 a.m. So,
The concert went till 3 a.m.
it's,
And it was like the best of the concert. It was intimate.
yeah, it was like these guys don't remember. You guys are too young, but like MTV Live.
Yeah, unplugged.
Right, I think
MTV
unplugged.
Yeah.
Right? It was one of those things. But also,
Do you guys know who Hanan Ben Ari is?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
yeah,
You must.
if you don't, you must leave now.
No.
That time he's
I'm
just-
joking. Not really. But no, it's just, but Efrat in general, you have this kollel, you have this shul, you have whatever you need here. You have ruchniut, you have gashmiut, you have chesed, you have just community, you have love, you have growth, and I think that's the biggest thing. And it's a community that's tight knit, and it's a community that is constantly looking to grow, and that's something that I don't think you can. Be'ezrat Hashem is like that in many places in Eretz Yisrael and throughout the world, but here specifically, I feel like it's a special place for those reasons.
Yeah, I agree with everything Yosef Aaron just said, so I'm not going to repeat it. Me personally, as I said, I grew up in the entertainment world, music world, so to channel that sort of VIP, stardom, music experience that I with and got to meet all the greats and be at the greatest events in history, and to have that background and then come to Israel and then you listen to, I don't know if you realize how, like, I'm not going to say something not good, but it wasn't great Jewish music back then in the 90s. Like, it was okay, but if you're coming from a secular music world into the Jewish world and the guys on the keyboards, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is, how am I going to survive musically over here? And thank God, it's so developed, and obviously, as Rabbi Yosef Aaron just said, Shlomo Katz, Rav Shlomo Katz, he's an example of someone who's bringing the panemius of music, and his brother Eitan, and so we'll get into this, but I got involved with a whole booking industry in terms of the Jewish world, and I found Efrat as one of the best places where people are continuously visiting. And we'll just turn up for Shacharis, and Eitan Katz is davening like a few rows over, and the other day some big Rabbonim walk in from Miami, Rav from Goldberg, and people you want to know. Yeah, I was just wandering into the shul, and this constant experience of meeting special people, because I don't think it's just about music, it's also about speakers, creatives, rabbis, people who can really inspire. Because I didn't want to come to Israel and just be like, as a rabbi, a regular sort of classical person. Like, I wanted to be much more than that. Like, I feel like just not putting down that world, but just being a traditional sort of teacher, and it's very respectful. But coming from a world where there was so much impact, I wanted to be able to be part of how we can change the world. As I said, my family put on Live Aid, and if you know what that is, it was the biggest music event in history, and the impact is still felt till today. In fact, they just released a song from that time, with Ed Sheeran and other famous musicians are in the song, Bono, all these people, big people in that world. The legacy continues. How can I contribute from my background and my personality and make an impact on the world? And that's, you need a community. You need a place. You can't do it by yourself. That's the point. You need to have people that understand your vision, and in this community I get a lot of validation of who I am, and it really empowers me much more to keep going in my larger vision of what I hope for Am Yisrael, a unity experience, etc.
Amazing. Now comes the other side. What are some of the difficulties of living in Eretz Yisrael and also living in Efrat?
Let you answer that one.
Yeah, I got
So
I have no problem with that. No, it's not so tough. Listen, we know that Eretz Yisrael Nikat L'Yidei Surim. And the first year is not a pashut thing. When you come from America and there are certain things that you're just accustomed to, and just the way bureaucracy works or whatever it may be, or services or customer service or whatever it may be, that's a very simple thing. And I'm going to say something right now that's not politically correct, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Or not really, but I have to say that. One of the difficult things about living in a fox is that we live next to a bunch of cockroaches. And it's one of those things where there's Torah about these things. Like, there are things that B'ezrat Hashem, when we have a government that understands the needs of the people, and the government should be as focused as our actual Malachei HaSharet are, our soldiers that are on the front lines doing what needs to be done. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the man who's in charge right now is the best person we have possible. I really don't want to get into a political thing, but at the end of the day, there are people in this country that don't belong here. And that makes it difficult for the ones that do. And that's probably my biggest issue.
That would be, for example, they'll work in Efrat the way where they shouldn't be. Yeah, that's like the MASHA.
No, they shouldn't be in Eretz Yisrael.
No, but I'm saying the MASHA, like in terms of Efrat.
Well, that's
like
a
daily.
That's a given. Yeah, they shouldn't be coming here. They shouldn't be working here.
Because they're being allowed back in. For a while, they weren't allowed to work.
But that's a symptomatic thing that whatever. That's a lesser problem than what the bigger problem actually is. And the Torah talks about it. You get a toshav, you leave peacefully, or what we're doing in Gaza and Lebanon. It's really simple. It's mamash simple. It's not a complicated thing. And when we follow the Torah, and if we follow the Torah the way that we're supposed to, then it becomes a lot simpler. But L'tzarenu, our leadership doesn't have the same mentality, doesn't have the same mindset.
How does that affect you personally? That's what I want to know. Because remember, we like to do podcasts, we like to talk. So how do you feel about it? Like, because I know that's for like the but like when I know my son, he comes out of Gaza and he hears workers next door speaking in Arabic, he's triggered because they've just like been fighting with them, and now that same sort of energy and voice is next door building a house. It's very hard for him. Yeah, like it's a real thing. You know, so how?
I don't think I can really say it.
Yeah, publicly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You have to get to know Yosef to find out the real inner reason for Baruch Hashem. So I would say living in Israel and living in Efrat, very similar issues, like the fact that the government and the general character of Israel has not yet understood its spiritual purpose is very frustrating. It affects your daily experience in terms of trying to build a business, trying to, anything you want to do here, you're going to have to face up to the fact that it's not the ideal system. They're not Balei Chasodim, they're not here to help you like on a daily basis. They're here to make sure you do what they want and what they need, and it's a little bit painful to see people treat each other that way, and it creates a whole culture that's not, it's not the ideal culture. I hope all of us making Aliyah here, the last, however long we've all been making Aliyah from places like, England, America, and France, and all the places which hopefully have a bit more, Canada, have a bit more derech eretz, South America, we have a bit more understanding that business needs to be done, and a bit more of a trust base. There needs to be more, chasodim and relationships, and all this needs to change. And I think the more we make Aliyah, the more we will impact. I think it's a very slow process as of now, but also the fact that with what we've gone through now with this war has changed the whole nature of the experience. Being, my own son has changed. He's been forced to grow up in a crazy way, and that's impacted our family, and I'm sure all the other families and people that have, God forbid, gone through tragedies. We're very, in pain people. We have a lot of pain and a lot of tragedy, a lot of suffering that we're dealing with and facing with daily, and that is difficult to process and to manage. But the beautiful thing is, once again, we're doing it as a family. That's the difference. So that's the comfort, and we're doing it in our home rather than outside somewhere else. And so even though there are things like Yosef brought up that we really urgently need to fix because it's endangering our people, literally, putting our lives at risk, having this previous situation and allowing it to come back, God forbid. But we do have to change, and I think all of us need to take on that responsibility to be the change and to influence our surroundings and bring more good-natured, good people who have impact to the infrastructure of Israel, and that will improve our experience in a way we can't even imagine.
I want to say one more thing, and it's this week's parasha as well, right? So
Yeah.
the one event in the Torah that most resembled, to a certain extent, what happened on Shabbat Simchat Torah was the story with Dinah, right? Dinah and Shechem. And I want you guys to do some homework. Go back and take a look at what the Rambam says on that story, and what the Ramban says on that story, and what the Gur Aryeh says on that story. When we live our lives according to the Torah, it becomes a lot simpler. Just do it for yourselves. I didn't say it. Just go and look. You guys are learned boys.
Yeah.
Go, take a look, and you'll see. And you'll see exactly what I'm referring to and why I said